This is unbelievable. Omoyele Sowore reveals a deep secret about Biafra agitation and Nnamdi Kanu that many people are not aware of. I want you to pay attention to this video and watch it to the very end. Then drop your thoughts right there in the comment section.
You people are not fighting the same cause. You are fighting to be the president of the country. He is fighting to divide the country.
Yes.
People would say, why would you be seen in such a meeting? Would you like to clear that
You
air?
see, anybody that lacks any sense of consciousness would ignore social movements. That is the problem with Nigerian leadership. You cannot have a country in which there are 251 tribes or language, and one big section says we are not satisfied with here, and you don't talk to them, you don't understand them. Then you are not a leader of that country. The reason I met him was to understand first what his struggle was about, which I knew already. And secondly, to also advise him on the way that I think we could all work together. And thirdly, to send a message to the Nigerian people that we can work through our differences, even at these levels. And I was surprised that, contrary to what some people are saying, he did not want Nigeria to break up. He wanted a Nigeria where the Igbo man can survive. But for an Igbo man to survive in Nigeria, as it is currently put together, Nigeria must break.
Wait, the meeting you had with Nnamdi Kanu.
Yes.
You are telling us now that Nnamdi Kanu, from what you understand from the meeting with him, he does not want Nigeria to break, to divide.
No, he said clearly that it is too late for Nigeria to come together. But he gave his point. We live streamed the meeting now. It's online.
Okay.
And part of it was live streamed. Some of them were private. But he said that he feels that if Nigeria were to respect certain protocols, including a referendum inserted in the constitution, and he still says it even now in court, that if he's released, he will go back and end the bloodshedding. The bloodshedding is in that part, and that a conversation can. He says that in every court appearance, that he's being held is not helping the opportunity to have a conversation about whatever it is, the unity you are begging for. But you see, Nigeria has a problem, and I've always said Nigeria has an Igbo problem, and I'm not saying it to please people who are known as Igbos. But the moment they decided to take the action they took in 1967 to 1970, the war, Nigeria, having won that war in their eyes, never forgave the Igbos. That is the reality. And if I were to be president of Nigeria today, the first thing I would do is to head to the Southeast and apologize to them for the war. Part of it is that I've never participated in it, and I cannot continue to fight a war that I did not engage in. And then ask them, what do we want?
So are you saying that the federal government has, like even before successive governments,
yes,
they've always had this anger against the Igbos?
There is a secret memo, I don't know where it is located in government, that whenever we want to take charge in this country, be careful of the Igbo. Don't give them position. Don't give them opportunity. Otherwise, they will overrun. It is a well-known fact. Even our parents, tell us, Igbo. You understand? Some of them even say unconsciously. They even say it on radio shows in this country. So don't let us lie to ourselves, because except we bring this out openly and discuss, it's a taboo that we have refused to discuss.
True.
We are not going to solve the problem. It is the reason why the federal government of Nigeria feels that in 2024, detaining Nnamdi Kanu against all the court orders, against all the court rulings, is the only way to go. You know, I was detained in the DSS place for 5 months.
Yes.
There's nothing there to detain anybody. For the place is not even functioning. The DSS headquarters. Yes, is it the same DSS people who are watching BB Nigeria from morning to night? No, it's true now. I was there with them for 5 months. I've said this publicly. So all the institutions in this country are broken down. But let's get back to the reality. One thing I told people is that you are looking at Igbos as the only people who want to secede. But who in this country today has not mentally seceded from Nigeria? Mentally seceded. Who has not left? Except those who are trapped. If anybody in this country is working in a bank and he has 10 million naira and somebody say you can get into Canada, he will leave the next day.
I swear.
Is that not secession? What of secession is that you leave a country, you say to that country goodbye,
and not do it.
You get to the other country, you bow down, you touch the soil, and then you renounce your citizenship of the country you are coming from. Is that not what they call secession? So if you want to look at the number of people that have seceded in that Japa syndrome, there are more than all the Igbos combined together who are asking to leave. And in the process of keeping Nigeria united, we have let go of more citizens than the country should have. Yes.
So you think if they had, because I mean, from the last thing you said now, you say in the process of trying to keep Nigeria united,
yes,
we have let go of more citizens than we should have.
Of course.
So if we had allowed for the division or secession of Nigeria, most of our citizens that are outside would not have been outside.
No, you see, it is not the secession I'm talking about.
Okay, what are you talking about?
It is what led to the war that we did not address.
Okay.
And what happened after the war. Why is it that Nigeria hasn't been able to overcome the Biafran problem? It's because Nigeria never addressed what the Biafrans were asking for before the war.
What were they asking?
They were asking for to be treated not as second-class citizens in this country. Don't you know what happened, the Cop pogrom in this country, where people were slaughtered and their bodies and their heads placed inside the train going down south? Yes, from the north, from the mid, the different parts of the north. Are we ignoring that? So
that happened
before the war. Before the war, that's what they call pogrom. People who were settled, doing well, they were slaughtering them and sending their bodies and their heads inside calabash and sending on trains that was heading east.
Were they Easterners?
They were Easterners.
Yes,
why are you asking me? It's there in, go and Google it now. So you expect that will happen, and then there was a war that eviscerated 3 million people.
Wow.
And when the war was over, you just say, oh, nobody was vanquished, nobody was victorious. And then
3 hours.
But you still kept a memo and said, don't trust them.
Collect people money,
yes,
their 20 pounds.
And then you took their properties. So Ojukwu did not get back JAMB until 1992 now, his father's house, that is known as JAMB headquarters here in Ikoyi. It was after he came back from Ivory Coast. It was Babangida, I think, that gave him back their property. So any country that is perpetually carrying out systemic injustice against will lose more citizens than they should have. The reason why countries that are work is because citizens believe in their country. And you cannot force that belief. It has to come through social justice.
True.
It has to come through economic justice.
Nnamdi Kanu, in seeking to define Nigeria, he called it a zoo. You must have heard me or read me say variously that I disagree with him, that Nigeria cannot be called a zoo, because if Nigeria were to be a zoo, in any other country other than Nigeria, the administrators of that zoo would be facing criminal charges in courts. If Nigeria were to be a zoo, that zoo would have lost its license to operate. If Nigeria were to be a zoo, in any country other than Nigeria, the entire wide world would be up in uproar. Nigeria is not a zoo. No zoologist worthy of his name will keep animals in the condition that the Nigerian has been kept by the Nigerian state and its rulers. So I disagree with Nnamdi Kanu. There are many things he says that I agree with. Aside from methodologies, I have zero or next to nothing in relation to disagreement, to disagree when it comes to his diagnosis. But when it comes to calling Nigeria a zoo, Nigeria is not a zoo. I have also been heard calling Nigeria a jungle until I believe about a couple of years ago, I traveled out of the country and no, it's longer than that. I traveled out of the country and I went to the UK, a place I had routinely gone to for decades. Now, I found that when I got into the UK, I couldn't function because I realized actually Nigeria is not a jungle. Jungles function on order. You can predict the seasons in the jungle. Animals know their places in the jungle. Everybody operates by divine orchestration and order. The jungle operates on law. We call that the law of nature, but the jungle operates on law. It functions on the basis of predictable order. That is the jungle. Nigeria does not function on the basis of any predictable order. The only thing that you can predict about Nigeria is that what should happen will not happen, and what shouldn't happen are the things that we have all organized. So Nigeria is not a jungle. Nigeria is the leper's colony. What is the leper's colony? I've just told you about the dilemma of the leper when the leper seeks to pick up his needle. But how do you call the Nigerian a leper? If you look to the story as told in that biblical passage, you'd find that the lepers were outside the city gates. The city gate provides protection for those within its walls. That is allegorical of a state, of a protective entity. For you to have a gate, you must have walls. As fearful as the city was, they were still behind the wall. But the lepers, they were at the gate. Not within, not without. They were not disallowed from entry, mind you. It's just that those whose beneficiaries they would have fed from
are also starving because of the siege. And in any case, what was the point of going around the streets where people are already hungry and hostile? So they sat at the city gate, excluded. That is how the Nigerian is routinely excluded from the society, left out, shut out. The others were inside. The Nigerian is the leper, always at the city gate.